She blocked me on a Tuesday. No warning. No, I need space. Just silence. One moment I was sending her a photo of the new espresso machine I'd finally splurged on. She loved her coffee. And the next, I got the dreaded message not delivered. Her name on my screen grayed out like a ghost. Like I never existed. It hit me harder than I expected. Not because of the argument. God knows we'd had worse. But because of how easy she made it look. Just a swipe, a tap, and I was out of her life. Like clearing clutter from an inbox. We'd argued that morning. Nothing explosive. No broken plates, no screaming. It was about the trip, again. I wanted to postpone. My firm was in the middle of a merger, and I needed to stay put. She didn't care. Said I always chose work over her. I told her she always chose drama over reality. The conversation spiraled into old wounds, recycled accusations, and tired sarcasm. But I thought we'd cool off. We always did. She didn't cool off. She disappeared. By Wednesday morning, her Instagram was private. Her WhatsApp? Blocked. Email? Delivery failed. Even Netflix kicked me out of the account. The profile that once said Caitlin and Sam Redhart. Now just read, user 1. Like a glitch in the Matrix. Like we never shared 6 years, 3 apartments, and a dog we buried together in the fall. At first, I panicked. Called her sister. No answer. Texted her best friend, who replied with a cold. She needs time. Respect that. Time. Time. After everything, that's when something in me broke. Or maybe clicked. She wasn't taking time. She was taking power. And I'd handed it to her. Again. Because I'd made everything about her for too long. Her moods. Her family. Her ambitions. Her fears. Her therapy. Her dreams of owning a coastal bookstore one day, when the city finally sucked the last soul out of us. I paid for that therapist. Co-wrote the business plan. Worked overtime for the down payment on a space she never even visited. Meanwhile, I kept postponing my life. Friends I stopped seeing. Trips I never took. The band I once played in on weekends. Haven't touched my guitar in 2 years. I poured all my energy into keeping us afloat while she kept poking holes in the hull, wondering why it leaked. And now she blocked me. Like I was the problem. Thursday came, and I didn't reach out. Not because I was over it, but because something in me had started to harden. Not anger. Not yet. Just a quiet clarity. The kind that comes when the fog lifts, and you finally see the wreckage clearly. By Friday, I was clearing her from my accounts. Not as revenge, not yet, but as preservation. I changed the bank account passwords. Revoked her access to the shared savings she hadn't contributed to in over a year. I called the travel agent we'd used and canceled the credit card she'd booked flights on under my name. I even froze the gym membership she rarely used, but always insisted we keep. I opened a new financial plan. Separate from her. From us. That's when I realized I had no idea what my own plans even were. What did I want without her voice narrating the possibilities? What did I want to build? So I started sketching out ideas. Not for a bookstore or a couple's getaway, but for me. Just me. Saturday, I unlinked her from my Spotify. Her playlists had always overrun mine. Every road trip, every Sunday morning, every late-night drive, it was her music. I hadn't even realized how much space she took up until I heard silence, and it finally sounded like mine. That afternoon, I sat on the balcony with my coffee, and I thought about the first time we met. A bookstore, ironically. She was standing in the aisle, reading the back of a poetry collection I'd just finished. We talked for 20 minutes about heartbreak and Neruda. She said I was kind. I thought she was different. But over time, kindness became currency. And I kept spending it, waiting for a return that never came. Blocking someone isn't just about communication. It's about erasure. She wanted to delete me like a bad app. Wipe me clean like I never mattered. But I did matter. So that night, I blocked her. From everything. Phone. Email. Access. Plans. Life. Not out of spite. Out of necessity. Because love shouldn't feel like begging to stay relevant. And loss shouldn't feel like freedom. But somehow this did. And the silence? It wasn't punishment anymore. It was peace. The first Sunday without her felt like a betrayal to routine. No almond croissants. No waking up to her shuffling around the kitchen in that oversized hoodie she stole from me in year 2. Just sunlight through half-open blinds in a house that didn't know how to breathe without her. I didn't cry. Not then. I just sat at the dining table, her side still pulled out slightly, and scrolled through my calendar. It was cluttered with things I no longer owed anyone. Her dentist appointment. Her sister's baby shower. A weekend yoga retreat I was supposedly attending for us. All deleted with a single sweep. By noon, I was knee-deep in my budget. That's the thing no one tells you about a breakup you didn't initiate. You don't get closure. You have to build it. Line by line, number by number, decision by decision. So I started where I could, financial ties. She once called me too meticulous, like it was a flaw. But that same flaw saved me. I knew exactly where every dollar was. Every joint subscription. Every forgotten auto-renewal. I even found an old PayPal account linked to my email that she used to funnel payments from a side business I didn't even know she had. That one stung. Not the money. The secrecy. I didn't confront her. I just documented. I printed bank statements. Froze the secondary cards she'd borrowed for emergencies. Called the landlord to update the lease to my name only. And then I paused. Because in the stillness of all that deletion, I felt something unexpected. Relief. Like I could finally breathe without asking permission. Like I didn't need to explain why I wanted a weekend to myself. Like I didn't have to justify every dollar spent on something that didn't involve her dreams. That night, I opened an old folder on my laptop. Dream projects. Stuff I saved from years ago. Ideas I never had time for. A cabin design I once sketched after a trip to Colorado. A podcast I wanted to start with 2 friends. A photography course I bookmarked and forgot. They were all still there, like little pieces of me waiting at the door. I started with the cabin. Not building it. Not yet, but planning. Running numbers. Looking at land. I didn't tell anyone. It felt like a secret I needed to keep to myself. Something that wasn't for her approval or applause. And then something strange happened. She unblocked me. Tuesday evening. Just like that. My phone buzzed with her name, alive again on the screen. No message. No missed call. Just available. I stared at it for a long time. I didn't message her. I didn't need to. Because the moment she unblocked me, I realized something vital. She didn't expect me to walk away. Blocking me had been her power play. Her declaration that she held the final word. But now that the silence stretched longer than she anticipated, she came back. Not with words, but with that subtle digital breadcrumb. The problem was, I was already gone. Emotionally, financially, mentally. And there was a kind of power in knowing she had to unblock me to check. She hadn't expected me to adapt, to thrive in her absence. She thought I'd crawl back, apologize, beg, do the emotional labor I'd done for years. But I'd moved on, not to someone new, just to someone I hadn't seen in a while, myself. So I did something quiet, something irreversible. I closed the joint account, the last one we'd shared, transferred the balance to my new personal one she couldn't access. Sent her a single, final message. I'm glad you're okay. Just so you know, I've moved forward. No hard feelings, just new chapters. Take care. Then I blocked her. From my bank. From my plans. From my life. I expected to feel guilt. Regret. Something. But what I felt was peace. And in that peace, a realization bloomed. Sometimes you have to lose someone to find the parts of yourself you abandoned to keep them. And once you find those parts again, no apology is big enough to make you hand them back. She played her silence like a punishment. I made mine a boundary. A month passed. Not a word from her. Not a ping. Not a forwarded meme. Not even a mutual friend poking around just to check in. And for once, the absence didn't ache, it affirmed. The quiet wasn't empty anymore. It was earned. I'd always thought healing came with some big moment. A sunrise. A long talk. A tearful goodbye over coffee where everything made sense. But that's not how it happened. Healing came on a Thursday. I was in line at a grocery store, holding a basket full of things I used to avoid, things she didn't like. Spicy salsa. That particular dark roast she called too bitter. That cheap frozen pizza I used to eat in college. All in my cart, no second guesses. And then I saw her. Not in person. In pixels. Someone had tagged her in a photo from a local art show. She looked good. Really good, if I'm being honest. Same denim jacket I once bought her for her birthday. Same half smile that used to pull me in like a riptide. But something was different. The caption read, "Rebuilding. One brushstroke at a time." It didn't hurt. Not like I thought it would. I didn't zoom in. Didn't wonder who took the photo. I just kept scrolling. Then turned my phone off and bought my groceries. Because that wasn't my world anymore. And she wasn't my weight to carry. That weekend, I did something small that felt huge. I went on a hike alone. Just me, a backpack, a journal, and a trail I used to avoid because she wasn't an outdoors person. I reached the summit by noon, heart pounding, sweat stinging my eyes, and I sat on a rock overlooking miles of trees and sky and freedom. And I cried, not from sadness, from release, from the quiet kind of joy that sneaks up on you when you realize you're no longer waiting for someone to text back, no longer arranging your life around someone else's needs, no longer asking, what would she think? She used to say I was too logical, that I overplanned, that I wasn't spontaneous enough for her soul. And maybe she was right. I was the spreadsheet guy, the guy who booked hotels months in advance and packed extra chargers. But I was also the guy who stayed, who built, who believed. And maybe, just maybe, that belief belonged somewhere else now, with someone else, or maybe just with me. 2 weeks later, I launched my podcast. It wasn't flashy, no viral intro, just honest conversations with other men about rebuilding after heartbreak, about identity, about learning to live without being defined by who left. Episode 1, titled Blocked. It ended with this. Sometimes they block you to punish. Sometimes you block them to protect. Either way, there's a moment when you stop refreshing the feed, when you stop hoping they'll come back. And in that stillness, you realize the best kind of closure isn't a conversation. It's a choice. It picked up more traction than I expected. Messages came in. Quiet, grateful ones. Your story sounds like mine. I thought I was the only one. Thanks for saying it. And I smiled. Because I wasn't alone anymore. None of us were. I never heard from her again. Not directly. But I didn't need to. We'd both rewritten our stories. Separately. Silently. She blocked me after an argument. So I blocked her from my bank, my plans, my life. And in doing so, I found something I didn't know I'd lost. Myself.